Hi everyone, so in this video I'm going to go over the Unit 5 test review. So in this first problem it says to graph the system of equations and it gives you two equations. Notice that both of these equations are in standard form, so we'll need to convert them to y equals mx plus b form in order to be able to graph the lines. On your test you'll be using the line tool to graph these lines. So remember, you'll just need to plot 2 points that are on each line and then it will automatically create the graph for you. So let's start off with 3x minus 4y equals negative 4. So what you can do is now try to get y by itself so that this can be in mx plus b form. So I'm going to start off by subtracting 3x from both sides. And when I do that, I end up with negative 4y equals negative 3x minus 4. Now to get y by itself, I'm going to divide everything by negative 4. And when I do that, I end up with y equals negative 3 over negative 4 is 3 over 4. So I have 3 over 4x. And then minus 4 over negative 4 will just turn into a plus 1. So now I have something with a slope m of 3 over 4 and a y-intercept b of 1. So that means I'm going to go to my graph and plot my first point at 1. And then I'm going to count slope up 3. 1, 2, 3. And then right 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 in order to graph the second point. So on your test, it'll automatically now create the line for you, but here I'm just going to draw it in. And then we're going to work on our second equation. So we have negative 4x minus 8y equals 32. So I'm going to start off by adding 4x to both sides. So when I do that, I end up with negative 8y equals 4x plus 32. So now I'm going to divide everything by negative 8 in order to work on getting y by itself. So when I do that, I end up with y equals, I have 4 over negative 8, which will reduce to negative 1/2. So I have negative 1/2 x, and then plus 32 over negative 8 will turn into minus 4. So this is the value of b, and then this is the value of m. So I'm going to go to my graph now and plot the first point at negative 4, and then I'm going to count slope, which is down 1, and then right 2. So now I can connect these 2 points to form the graph of my second line. So that is all you have to do in this problem. You just have to graph both of the equations in this system. So now let's find the solution to this system of equations. We have y equals 4x minus 1 and y equals negative x plus 4. So based on how these equations are written, you can use graphing or you can use substitution in order to solve the system of equations. So if you want to use graphing, what you'll do is on your calculator, you'll go to y equals, and you'll have to enter both equations. So you enter 4x minus 1, and then we have negative x plus 4. Then you click second, calculate, choose option 5, which is intersect, hit enter, and then after it graphs it, you will hit enter now 3 times. And it will give you the value of the intersection. So the solution is going to be 1, 3. You can also graph this on Desmos. So if you graph on Desmos, remember you will enter 4x minus 1 and negative x plus 4. And then what you're going to do is you're going to look for the intersection point. So you'll click on that intersection point, which it tells you is at 1, 3. Another way to do this problem is to solve by substitution. Notice that both of these equations are equal to y. So I can take this expression, negative x plus 4, and substitute it into the first equation for y. So I will get negative x plus 4 equals 4x minus 1. So now to solve this equation, I need to move all of my x terms to one side. So I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides of the equation. And when I do that, I end up with negative 5x. So I have negative 5x plus 4 equals negative 1. So now to solve for x, I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides, which leaves me with negative 5x equals negative 5. Now I need to divide everything by negative 5 in order to get x by itself. So I have x equals 1. So now to solve for y, I'm going to take that x equals 1 and substitute it into my first equation. So instead of x, I'm going to write 1. So I have 4 times 1 minus 1. So that is going to give me y equals 4 minus 1, which is y equals 3. So that's how I get the coordinates 1, 3, which is the same solution that I found by graphing. So now let's estimate the solution to the system of equations. So notice that the solution is right here. Okay, so if we estimate the x value, like it's between 1 and 2, but it's a little bit closer to 2. So I would say maybe that's about 1.8. Notice that the y value is between 3 and 4. It's a little bit closer to 3, so I'd say maybe that's about 3.1. So that's a good estimate of the solution to the system of equations, because remember the solution is where the two lines will intersect. So in this problem, it says the tables of ordered pairs represent some points on the graphs of lines P and R. Write a system that is represented by P and R. So the quickest way to do this is to do linear regressions. You'll have to do one for each table. So remember, to do that, you're going to go to Stat and then choose Enter on Edit. You're going to arrow up and clear what's in L1 and L2. And then we're going to enter these values into our calculator. So I'm going to start off with line P. So I do -3, enter, 0, and then 4. And then I'm going to arrow over and do -3, 3, and 11. Then I click Stat, arrow right to calculate, choose option 4, hit enter, and then keep hitting enter. And it tells me that the equation is y equals 2x plus 3. So that will be the equation that represents line P. So I have y equals 2x plus 3. Now let's write the equation of line R. So once again, you can go to Stat, hit enter on Edit, clear what's in L1 and L2. So arrow up, clear, and then enter. And then enter the values from the table. So we have -5, 2, and 5. And then we have -21, 7, and 19. So you click Stat, arrow right to calculate, choose option 4, hit enter, keep hitting enter, and then you get y equals 4x minus 1. So those are the two equations in the system. Remember, you can also do this using Desmos. So what you will do in Desmos is you'll clear what you have, choose the plus sign, choose table, and then I'm going to start off with line P, so enter all the x values, and then enter all of the y values that correspond. And then in row 2, you're going to type the formula y1 is approximately mx1 plus b. And then it gives you the values of m and b. Okay, here I have a point instead of a 3. So it gives you the values of m and b, which are 2 and 3. So we have y equals 2x plus 3. Okay, we can also do the same thing with line R. So I'm going to exit out of this, click Table, and then enter the x values, and then arrow right and enter the y values, and then enter the formula. y1 is approximately mx1 plus b. Okay, and then it tells you m and b are 4 and -1, so that's how we get y equals 4x minus 1.
So in question 5, it wants us to find the value of x in the solution to this system of equations. So notice that when here I have one of my equations already solved for a variable, so I'm going to take this 5y minus 20 and I'm going to use substitution and I'm going to plug it in for x. So that will give me 2 times 5y minus 20 plus 5y equals 5. So I can start off by distributing this 2, which gives me 10y minus 40 plus 5y equals 5. I'm going to combine my like terms, so I have 10y plus 5y minus 40 equals 5, which gives me 15y minus 40 equals 5. So now to solve for y, I'm going to go ahead and add 40 to both sides. So when I do that, I end up with 15y equals 45. Now I divide both sides by 15, which gives me y equals 45 over 15, which is y equals 3. But in this problem, it wants me to solve for x. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to x equals 5y minus 20, and I'm going to substitute y equals 3. So I get 5 times 3 minus 20, which gives me x equals 15 minus 20, which is x equals -5. So x equals -5 is the value of x in the solution to the system of equations. So now let's graph the solution set to the system of inequalities. Remember, I want them to be in y equals mx plus b form so that I can graph them. So when I have 2y is greater than or equal to x plus 10, I'm going to start off by dividing everything by 2. So when I do that, I get y is greater than or equal to 1/2 x plus 5. So 1/2 is the value of m, and 5 is the value of b. So I'm going to go to 5, and then I'm going to count up 1, right 2. And then remember, if I have a greater than or equal to sign or a less than or equal to sign, I'm going to use a solid line. So I'm going to use a solid line to connect these 2 points, and then I'm going to figure out which side to shade. So I'm going to plug in 0, 0 as my test point, which gives me 2 times 0 is greater than or equal to 0 plus 10. So that means 0 is greater than or equal to 10, which is false. Remember, so I shade far away, which is on this side. So now I need to graph my next inequality. I have 3x plus y is less than 9. I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides to get the inequality into y equals mx plus b form. So I have y is less than negative 3x plus 9. So m is negative 3 and b is 9. So I'm going to plot this first point at 9. And then negative 3 is negative 3 over 1, which means I go down 3, 1, 2, 3, and I go right 1. And then I'm going to connect these points with a dotted line, because if I have a less than or greater than sign, I need a dotted line. So I'm going to use a dotted line to connect these 2 points, and I need to figure out which side to shade. So I'm going to plug in 0, 0, which gives me 3 times 0 plus 0 is less than 9. So that says that 0 is less than 9, which is in fact true. So true means shade towards. And so now I need to find where the shading overlaps. So you can see this upper left corner here, this region is where the shading overlaps because I have both purple and green shading. And so that is the solution to my system of inequalities. So now let's find the solution to the system of equations. So once again, I have an equation that is solved for one of the variables. So I'm going to substitute this 4x minus 3 into the first equation for y. So that gives me 4x plus 3 times 4x minus 3 equals 23. So I'm going to start off by distributing this 3. So I have 4x plus 12x minus 9 equals 23. So I'm going to combine these like terms, which gives me 16x minus 9 equals 23. And then I'm going to add 9 to both sides. So I end up with 16x equals 32. So now I divide both sides by 16, which gives me x equals 2. So once I have x equals 2, that is part of my solution. I now need a y value. So I have y equals 4 times 2 minus 3, because I substituted in x equals 2. So I have y equals 8 minus 3, which gives me y equals 5. So my solution is 2, 5. So in this problem, it says you and a friend go to the mall. You buy 4 shirts and 3 pairs of pants for $85.50. Your friend buys 3 shirts and 5 pants for $115. What is the price of a shirt? So let's define our variables. So x is the price of a shirt, and y is the price of a pair of pants. So remember, in a system, we'll always have 2 equations that describe 2 different situations. So we have what you buy, and we have what your friend buys. So you buy 4 shirts, so we have 4x plus 3y, which equals 85.50. Then we have what your friend buys. Your friend buys 3 shirts and 5 pants for $115. So now it wants us to find the shirt price, right? It wants us to find x. So what we can do in this equation is we can actually eliminate y. Okay, so let's look at the y terms. We have a 3y and a 5y. The LCM of 3 and 5 is 15. So if I could turn this into a 15y and a negative 15y, I could work out this problem. So I'm going to do that by multiplying this first equation by 5. So that gives me 20x plus 15y equals, and then I have 85.5 times 5, which is 427.5. And then I multiply the bottom equation by negative 3. So that gives me negative 9x minus 15y equals negative 3 times 115, which is negative 345. So now I can add these 2 equations together. So the y terms will eliminate. So I have 11x equals So I have 427.5 minus 345, which is 82.5. And now I'm going to divide both sides by 11, which gives me x equals 7.5. So that means that a shirt cost $7.50. So in this problem, it asks, what is the solution to the system of equations? So I see here I have two equations in standard form, so I need to use elimination, right? So I think I'm going to cancel x because x already has opposite signs. Well, if I look at 6 and 9, I want to find the LCM of 6 and 9. The LCM of 6 and 9 is 18, so I want to turn this into an 18x and a negative 18x. So I'm going to take my first equation and multiply it by 3. So I have 3 times 6x plus 2y equals 30. And that is going to give me 18x plus 6y equals 90. I'm going to multiply the second equation by 2. So I have 2 times negative 9x plus 4y equals negative 3, which will give me negative 18x plus 8y equals negative 6. So when I add these two together, I'm going to end up with 14y equals 90 minus 6, which is 84. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 14, which gives me y equals 84 divided by 14, which is 6. So now I need to solve for x. So I'm just going to pick the first equation. So I have 6x plus 2 times 6 equals 30. So I have 6x plus 12 equals 30. Subtract now 12 from both sides, which gives me 6x equals 18. Divide both sides by 6, and I have x equals 3. So the solution is 3, 6. So now let's find the solution to this system of equations. So notice in this one you already have the y terms as equal and opposite. So I can just go ahead and add these two equations together. So when I add these equations together, I end up with 12x. My y terms cancel, and that equals 12. I divide both sides by 12, which gives me x equals 1. Now I need to plug in to find the value of y, so I have 3 times 1 plus 3y equals negative 12. So I have 3 plus 3y equals negative 12. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, and that gives me 3y equals negative 15. So if I have 3y equals negative 15, I'm going to divide both sides by 3, and I have y equals negative 5. So the solution is going to be 1, negative 5. So in this problem, it asks for the solution to the system of equations. So notice my x terms are actually exactly the same. I have a negative 5x and a negative 5x. But remember, if I add them together, they're not going to cancel. So I need to multiply the second equation by negative 1. And so that will give me 5x plus 5y equals 30. Now I can combine this with that first equation, that negative 5x plus 3y equals 2. And then I have 5x plus 5y equals 30. So when I add these together, I get 8y equals 30 plus 2, which is 32. So I'm going to divide both sides by 8, and I have y equals 4. So now I just plug in that y equals 4. I'm going to plug it into that first equation. So I have 5x plus 3 times 4 equals 2. So I have negative 5x plus 12 equals 2. And then I subtract 12 from both sides. And that gives me negative 5x equals negative 10. I'm going to divide both sides by negative 5, which gives me x equals 2. So the solution to this system is 2, 4. So remember to work on these problems. Also, the answer key is on the last slide if you need to refer to it.